Good morning. I'm the Reverend Rachel Hayes, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst. Today we're thinking about Christianity and our many relationships with it. I am curious about the impact of 17th century Christianity on the relationship between the early colonialist settlers and native populations. Did the congregational Calvinism of the day give permission to the settlers to ignore the Christian teaching to love thy neighbor? There's probably a whole sermon just in that question, or at least a whole sermon's worth of research. But my suspicion is that it helps to remember that the early colonialist settlers were not only a religious project, they were also an economic project. It sounds like we're talking about Pilgrims and Puritans here. The Pilgrims were separatists. They were seeking religious freedom from the Church of England. They came on the Mayflower. One way or another, this story comes up a lot this time of year, so it helps to remember that we're talking about two distinct religious groups. The Puritans were religious reformers who came to Massachusetts to live in congregations still nominally under the Church of England, but taking their leadership from their understanding of Jesus as revealed in the Bible. They were well-funded and trying to live in perfect English Christianity in the Massachusetts Bay Colony with the same economic structures as they had in England, but without the religious hierarchy. The Puritans were, like us, covenanted in their congregations with one another and covenanted congregation to congregation, like the Unitarian Universalist Association is now. That was their whole accountability structure. There's an important historic document, the Cambridge Platform of 1648, where the congregations covenant with one another to that effect. They have the duty to keep one another in line with the teachings of the gospel, Christian to Christian and congregation to congregation. This is still what we do. Without a higher authority, we rely on our peers to call us back into covenant. Where this went wrong is in two places, so far as I can tell. First, these economically successful Puritans were replicating the English culture with a purer church as they understood it, and that includes the enclosure of the common lands into private ownership. They brought this practice with them to this continent, buying land and excluding its original people from it, just like the contract for the sale of Hadley that you can still read today. Second, the settlers did not understand themselves to be in covenant with their non-Christian neighbors. The Puritans weren't even in covenant with the Pilgrims, who had the same cultural origins, language, and scriptures, and they prevented the Pilgrims from having the same chances to thrive as Puritans who were in covenant. So they certainly didn't keep covenant with the native people with whom they shared land, and not even land, if they could help it. The fact that these Puritans did not behave covenantally with those they did not understand to be part of their covenant against their own economic interests and the economic interests of the whole group is not really surprising. We see this play out in our own time. It's not surprising even if we know in hindsight how much damage it did. The colonists also established praying towns in order to convert the native people of New England to Christianity, but the converts remained second-class citizens. They could never be English enough or Christian enough to truly be in covenant.